Well, welcome to the 700 Club. Tensions in Washington reaching the flashpoint this week. Republicans are seething over the closed-door process of impeachment, while Democrats double down and hint at proof of quid pro quo.
Will the Democrats cave to the pressure and make the hearings public? Abigail Robertson brings us this report on the escalating fiasco.
House Republicans are demanding witnesses in the ongoing impeachment inquiry be allowed to testify publicly. Meanwhile, Senate Republicans are pushing a resolution to condemn the, quote, closed-door, illegitimate process.
They've created a process in the Intel Committee that's behind closed doors, doesn't provide access to the president's accuser, shuts Republicans out for all practical purposes.
Almost 50 Republicans have signed on to Graham's resolution, including Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell.
It's not that we don't get to ask questions. We just don't get to call our own witnesses. We don't get to use subpoena to ask for documents. When we talk about coordination, the possible coordination between the whistleblower and the majority staff, those are questions I think all of America would want to know. We don't have access to that.
Congressman Mark Meadows is on one of the committees allowed inside the closed-door hearing room.
The testimony that came out the other day with Ambassador Taylor, everybody said, well, this is a bombshell, this is breaking news. If you saw the 7 hours worth of cross-examination and questions, as well as some of the conflicting testimony of other witnesses, you would realize that the press statements lack backup from other witnesses and other sources.
Those inside can't share specifics, although Meadows tells CBN News he can provide general characterizations.
We now know that the aid was held up, but it was also released without any conditions attached to it.
Congressman Andy Biggs can't go in.
They're trying to overthrow the 2016 election. If you're going to do that, open it up, make it a fair process.
And joined about 24 Republicans who marched into the hearing room Wednesday.
If you think you have something that's worthy of impeachment, quit hiding it. Open up the doors.
House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer calls the Republicans' move a distraction attempt.
When the Republicans talk about these secret hearings, I laugh because 47 Republicans have the opportunity to be in the room. They're authorized to be in the room.
And assures this.
Everybody's going to have public testimony. They're going to see public testimony. They'll be either able to read or to hear all of the testimony that has been given and that will be given. So these are going to be, as we do, in a due process way, consistent with the Constitution.
Amidst mounting pressure, Democrats are reportedly considering making the hearings public as soon as mid-November. Reporting from Capitol Hill, Abigail Robertson, CBN News.
Well, I would urge them to open it up. At its core, an impeachment is a trial. And that just in a sense of fairness, you don't have secret trials in the U.S. of A. Everything's open, and you get to confront your witnesses, and you get to call your own witnesses, and you get to marshal evidence on your case. And to do this in secret just doesn't make any sense. I hear that they want to open it up, and they absolutely should. Otherwise, we're just talking about political theater, and it seems like it's just posturing for the 2020 election. If you're going to do this and do this, it needs to be done in the open. In other news, the Justice Department is now conducting a criminal investigation into the origins of the 2016 Russia probe. Ephraim Graham has that story from our CBN newsroom. Ephraim?
Gordon, U.S. Attorney John Durham has been conducting a review of Robert Mueller's investigation into possible collusion between the Trump presidential campaign and Russia. Now that review has become a criminal investigation. That will give prosecutors the ability to issue subpoenas, possibly impanel a grand jury, and bring federal charges. Fox News reports Durham is very interested in questioning former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper and former CIA Director John Brennan. A major ruling in a case in Texas where the father of a 7-year-old boy recently lost his legal attempt to stop his ex-wife from potentially having a sex change operation to transition their 7-year-old son into a girl. The judge has ruled both parents will have a joint conservatorship over the boy. LifeSite News reports the judge also said this includes making joint medical decisions for the child. Court documents show the boy dresses as a girl and goes by the name Luna when he's with his mother. But witnesses for the father says the boy wears boys' clothes and goes by the name James when he's with him. Texas state officials are looking into this case. California's fire season has shifted into high gear. Up to 50,000 people have been forced out of their homes by raging flames. And as Jennifer Wishon now reports, there is no end in sight.
In Southern California, parched land, hot temperatures, and 40-mile-per-hour Santa Ana winds are fueling this beast of a blaze.
We have zero containment on the fires.
The so-called tick fire has forced as many as 50,000 people to flee their homes. These horses run frantically as flames dance around them. In Northern California's Sonoma County, famous for its world-renowned wines, the entire community of Geyserville, home to about 900 people, has been evacuated.
They were really, get out now.
Here, firefighters drive through a tunnel of flames as they work against the odds.
We just can't keep ahead of it.
For weeks, California power companies have been cutting power preemptively in an effort to prevent electrical fires. Pacific Gas and Electric says a jumper on one of its transmission towers broke close to where the fire started near Geyserville. The company is investigating but isn't accepting responsibility since officials aren't sure yet exactly how the fire started.
And as the weekend approaches, firefighters are facing worse conditions as they brace for wind gusts topping 70 miles per hour. Jennifer Wishon, CBN News.
Turning now to Israel, President Reuven Rivlin has given the Blue and White Party leader Benny Gantz the task of forming a new government. As Chris Mitchell now reports from Jerusalem, for Gantz, it could be a political mission impossible.
The move came after Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu returned the mandate earlier this week after failing to pull together a 61-seat majority of Knesset members for his government. Gantz promised to do what Netanyahu could not.
I promised I would form a united liberal government, and I intend to do so. In the government formed by me, I will serve and act for all Israeli citizens.
But given Israel's divided political landscape, Gantz faces a daunting challenge.
Benny Gantz's party has one more seat than Netanyahu's Likud, but still is far, far away from the majority that he needs. He has to bring together multiple other parties, not one or two, but 5 or 6. Ideologically, they will not sit together. So this is not just a numbers game of reaching a majority, it's also an ideological game, which Netanyahu failed at and which doesn't look like Benny Gantz will be capable of succeeding at.
Gantz has 28 days to form a government. If he fails, it's likely Israelis will head to the polls yet again for the third time in less than a year, possibly next March. While Israel struggles to form a government, on Thursday, the IDF Chief of Staff described Israel's southern and northern borders as tense and fragile and could deteriorate into war. In both cases, he said, it's Iran who's behind the dangers. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Chris, thank you. Posters carrying anti-Semitic and anti-Christian messages in central Turkey sparked international outrage. The posters displayed at bus stops in the city of Konya show a blood-stained Star of David and cross and a verse from the Quran that says, "Take not the Jews and Christians as friends." The Anatolian Youth Association and the National Youth Foundation hung the posters. The images soon spread internationally on Twitter and Facebook, sparking complaints from Christian, Jewish, and Muslim groups. The posters have been removed and replaced with Turkish flags. One member of the parliament is asking the Minister of the Interior how this could have happened and if he's investigating the matter. Gordon?
Well, let's take a look at that poster and realize it's quoting directly from the Quran. O you who believe, do not take the Jews and the Christians as friends. If any amongst you takes them as friends, then surely he's one of them. Verily, Allah does not make a righteous community from among them. So you have these posters going up at bus stops in central Turkey at the same time Turkey is invading Syria and trying to wipe out the Kurds. This is what's going on. You're not going to see this kind of report on any other newscast, but we want to bring it to you so you know what's going on. how this ethnic rivalry, and then underneath all of it is a religious rivalry that says we cannot have Christians and Jews in Turkey. If you've ever wondered why the place where all the letters in Revelation were delivered, where you have the Apostle John as the pastor in Ephesus, you have the foundation of Christianity in Turkey 2,000 years ago. Have you ever wondered why there aren't any Christians there now? This is why. 100 years ago, when Turkey supposedly became a secular state, one of the first things Ataturk did was kick out all the Christians. It was one of the greatest mass migrations up to that point in history. And traditional Christian communities throughout Turkey were forced to move. This is what's going on. This will be the rationale now for the territory that they've taken from the Kurds and the rationale for ethnic extermination of the Kurds. They did it to the Armenian community over 100 years ago. They're doing it again today. And unfortunately, they had our permission to go in.